What do you want to be remembered for? And how can you take action now that aligns with a legacy you may just want to leave behind? I've been a therapist for my entire adult life, and I've met so many clients that reach their later years full of regrets, who say things like, I always wanted to do that, but I didn't, and now I'm regretful because I'm not doing what I'm meant to do. Keep listening, because I want to help you not make the mistakes that lead to painful regret. And instead of regretting what you could have, would have, and should have done, you can start to create the impact now so that you can be remembered for doing something amazing. You know, I loved Wayne Dyer. I met him many times, and he said something I never forgot: don't die with your music still playing in you. And I remember thinking about it, thinking, wow, you know, I've got this great method and I see clients, but that's my music. And that's when I decided to write, to teach, to create a program, to create RTT. But let me ask you that question. What have you always wanted to do? What would you like to be remembered for doing? Do you want to make a change in the world? Do you want to make a difference? Do you want to be remembered for something amazing? And that may sound like a huge question. It might sound a big ask, but it's very important to ask it right now so that you don't suddenly look back and think, well, I haven't done anything. My life hasn't had enough meaning. I haven't been significant. Of course, it's a wonderful thing to get married, have kids, raise kids. For me, that's one of the best jobs in the world. But you can have another job as well as that job. And even when you do that job profoundly well, by the time you're 55, your kids have long gone. And now what are you going to do with the rest of your life? I meet so many clients who say, you know, I went into the family law firm, the family firm, and here I am at nearly 50 years old, and it was never really my choice. I just kind of got sucked into it, and now I'm full of regrets because I always wanted to be something else and do something else, and now it's too late. It's too late to switch careers. It's too late to learn something. In fact, that isn't true. I've met so many writers who wrote their first book in their 60s, in their 70s, in their 80s. The man who wrote Angela's Ashes wrote that when he retired. So it actually, for many careers, it's not too late to suddenly switch halfway through your life and say, right, it's really my time to think about, what do I want to do? What makes my heart sing? What would give me certainty, diversity, connection, significance, joy, growth, contribution? Because there are careers that do that. My career certainly has given me all of those things with bells on from the day I started to here I am 30 plus years later, loving it more than ever, precisely because it makes a difference to other people's lives. It meets all of my needs every single day. And many of my clients who didn't follow their heart's desire said, well, I didn't do it because I didn't have enough confidence. It seemed too difficult. It seemed to be too expensive and require too much time. You know, I've been treating clients with depression for 30 years. I found one of the major causes of depression is this failing to follow your heart's desire. I meet people who are just about to retire and say, hey, I always wanted to work with animals, work in law, work in medicine. I never did, and now it's too late. It's actually not too late. I met someone who came to me desperately depressed, and she said, I always wanted to work in medicine, but I went into teaching. I couldn't go to medical school for 4 years. I didn't have the funds, and I didn't think I was smart enough, so I became a teacher. I kind of liked it, but here I am at retirement full of regrets because I wanted to work in medicine. Now it's too late. When I asked her why she wanted to work in medicine, she said, well, I wanted to walk around wards and talk to patients and help people. That was always my dream, my goal. That was my heart desire, to imagine being on a ward, talking to a patient and making them better. I said, well, let's look at how you can do that now. And she said, well, I can't. I said, actually, you could. You could train in Reiki. You could train in homeopathy. My mother has just been in hospital. She has an aromatherapist coming on the ward, and she loves that. They have a reflexologist. So Think of how you could be on a ward making people better aside from being a doctor. And she said, wow. And that's exactly where she is now. She works both in hospitals and in a hospice doing aromatherapy and Reiki. And she absolutely loves it because she's making people feel better. She's giving them warmth and time and conversation and caring. And that was her legacy. It still is. So it's never, ever, ever too late. And of course, you can't change the past. The past is gone. The future's promised no one. The present is all we have. We can never go back and change the past, but we can learn from it. I really do believe it is never, ever too late to do what you love. In fact, in our TT, we have many people who come to train who've retired and said, I look forward to retiring. I'm so bored, but wow, I love this job. You know why? I can see one client a day. I can see 3 clients a week. I can work one day, 3 afternoons, and it's given me back meaning and purpose and joy. I know you've heard the saying, the best time to plant a tree was 5 years ago, but the second best time to plant that tree is right now. Wherever you are in your life, we are living long lives. And I want you to think about how you'd love your life to be. What makes your heart sing? What would you love to do if you could have one wish in a career and you absolutely couldn't fail? What would you love to do? What have you held back from doing? Because really, it's only habits that hold you back. The habit of thinking it's too difficult, it's too expensive, I'm too old, I'm not intelligent enough, I can't afford it, I haven't got the time to learn. You know, I love that expression, when hope dies, old age runs to meet you. I believe that when you do something you love, the neurons in your mind are always growing and you never ever really get to retire. I never ever plan to retire. I'm very lucky because I love what I do and I do what I love. But I made that happen for me. I found what I loved. I became really good at it. But when you love what you do and do what you love, although you work hard, you never really feel like you're working hard. And when you do what you love and love what you do, know that you're leaving behind a legacy. That's an amazing thing. I was listening to Frank Sinatra on the radio the other day. I thought, wow, isn't that amazing? Frank Sinatra is kind of immortal because his work will live on long after him. And there are many people whose work lives on. Maria Montessori, Dr. Bernardo, so many people who had an idea, a vision, created something. Louis Pasteur, we've all heard of him. There really is a chance for you to create a legacy. If we look at Jane Fonda, she started off as an actress, but her legacy has actually been that she helped people get into fitness. Angelina Jolie said, you know, I never wanted to act. I wanted to be a humanitarian, but I knew that I had to get a name. And so I acted to get the name to become a humanitarian because they had a legacy in mind. I'm going to do this, and in doing this, I can do that, and in doing that, I can make a difference. I can be remembered for doing something amazing. Marva Collins, who was so phenomenal in education, made a difference. The way she taught Black kids in the projects and gave them hope and treated them like they were geniuses. She left a legacy behind for many people. Maya Angelou left a legacy behind of the fact that you could be something and do something if you have extraordinary, phenomenal self-belief, and it's up to you to give yourself that extraordinary, phenomenal self-belief. So think again about the impact you would like to make in your life. It's your life. What would you like to be remembered for? What impact would you like to make? What would you like your legacy to be? Because you do have options, so many options. So if you would like to create an impact by helping other people, if you would like to be remembered by transforming other people's lives, just click the link below and please watch my Career Change webinar. I'm going to help you find a vocation that matches your vision, your legacy, your impact, and what you want to be remembered for. check out my next video here.